Hello everyone, in this video we are going to see all about Azure Key Vault and its practical use cases. Azure Key Vault is a cloud service provided by Microsoft which is used to securely store and manage sensitive information such as secrets, encryption keys and certificates. Some of the key features of Azure Key Vault are it helps to store API keys, passwords and connection string. It manages keys used for data encryption and decryption, and it helps to store SSL and TSL certificates. While creating the linked service to connect to the storage account, instead of storing the account key directly in the linked service, it is a best practice to store the account key in Azure Key Vault and use it in the linked service. In our practical session, we will create an Azure Key Vault and we will store the Azure Data Lake Gen 2 key in Azure Key Vault and we will use the key in linked service. Here is my Azure homepage. I'm going to create a new key vault. I'm going to select create and create a new key vault. I'm going to select the resource group. Here I'm going to provide the key vault name. I'm going to select the region and the pricing tier. Now let me click next. Here we can have role-based or value access policy. I'm the only user for this key vault, so I don't need the role-based. So I'm going to select value access policy. Now let me click next. I'm going to have this setting as default. Let me click next. I'm not going to provide any tags. Let me click next. Now we are going to create the key vault. The deployment is in progress. The deployment is completed. Our key vault is created. Now let's open the Synapse Analytics and open our linked service. Let's take an example of this linked service. In this linked service, we are connecting to a data lake Gen 2 storage and we have specified the account key in the linked service. This is not a secured way of creating the linked service. Instead, we can store the linked service in Azure Key Vault. Here, we can create a new linked service of type Azure Key Vault. Let me click New. Let me provide a name to my linked service, ls Azure Demo. Here, we can provide the Azure subscription and a Key Vault name. We have created the Key Vault as Key Vault Test 02 Demo. Now, we will test our connection. The connection is successful. Let me click commit. Here we see an error that the secret name is not loaded. That is because the managed identity in Azure Key Vault needs to be added with the right permission. Let's go to our Azure Key Vault. We will select access policies. Here we need to ensure the managed identity for Synapse needs to be added with right permission. Let me click create. We will select the permissions. We need get and the list permission. For the keys, secrets and the certificates. Now let's click next. Here we need to ensure the managed identity for Synapse is added with this permission. We will select our Synapse Analytics name. We have selected the Synapse Analytics name. Now let's click next. and next. Now let's create. Now our Synapse Analytics will have these permissions. Now let's go to Synapse and click refresh. Now let's store the access key of the storage account in Azure Key Vault. Let me go to the storage account. Here is our storage account. In the storage account, let me open data store. Let me open security and networks. Inside, let me go to access key. We are going to copy this access key and we are going to store in the Azure Key Vault. Let me go to the Azure Key Vault. Here is our Azure Key Vault. Inside the object, we are going to store the secret. Let me select generate and import. I'm going to name it as data lake demo key. Here, I'm going to save the access key. We can even set expiration date and activation date if you want. Our access key is stored in the Azure Key Vault. Now let's go to Synapse. Let me click refresh. Our secret name is populated. I'm going to select the secret name and select the corresponding version. Now let me test the connection. Let me click save. We have successfully created the linked service with the access key stored in the Azure Key Vault.